Hello everyone, Coach Jandy here. So I want to talk about a really tough topic, and sometimes this is hard to describe and to fully understand. But have you or anyone else in your life ever sabotaged a situation or a relationship? And you wonder, why is this person doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I sabotaging this? And it's almost like you can't stop yourself. So let me explain how this happens. First off, everything that we do today is usually a learned pattern, okay? So it comes from somewhere. And it's not to throw your parents under the bus or your caregivers or wherever that came from, but we do have to have the reality and the understanding that we learn everything by our caregivers, or for the majority. Some of it also comes from teachers, from media, lots of different avenues, but it is a learned pattern of what we do and how we behave. So our parents, okay, were given basically a tool belt when they were born. And that tool belt comprised of tools that their parents had. So if their parents did not have a particular tool, then that means that they probably didn't get that tool. So if their parents were not very affectionate, then they probably weren't very affectionate, which means then you may struggle with affection and so on. So you kind of get the point. If they weren't open, you're probably going to struggle with being open because that's not what you learned. Wasn't in the tool belt. So if you recognize today that you're missing a tool, then you have to go out and buy that tool. In other words, read books, get help, talk to a therapist, something like that, in order to change that pattern and be successful in your life. So there are 5 realities that I teach about. So there's the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and sexual. Okay, those are the 5 realities. And those are the 5 components that make up who you are. So in those realities, you have rules and you have understandings of what happens. Well, we're taught by our caregivers the rules and the regulations about all 5 of those areas. So here's the thing. In our society, whether it's through religion, media, just in schools, we're always taught that our parents and our caregivers are always right. Okay, listen to your parents, honor their mother, their father, and I understand what God was saying. He wasn't saying, that, if your parents abused you, that's okay, that you honor them in that. That's not what that means. That just means honor that they were your parents, that they brought you into this earth. It does not mean that you have to put up with the crap though, okay? So we learn patterns and beliefs by our caregivers. So with society and learning and understanding that, quote, our parents are always right, it's very ingrained in our brain and who we are. So then we go out into the world and we get into relationships or a job, and something doesn't line up, or we start to actually have success, okay? We may get that right person finally after all that time, or that right job situation, or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you notice that you start sabotaging yourself, and you almost can't stop. And the reason being for that is if you had some internal belief that your parents or your caregivers or someone taught you about yourself, that you felt, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not whatever internal messages that your parents purposefully or didn't purposely. Okay, sorry about that. My phone all of a sudden just cut me off, so I'm going to merge these videos. So as I was saying, our parents really are our caregivers. It's always been taught to us that they're gods, they know everything, that, we should line up with their way of thinking. And we're really brought up with that messaging. So unfortunately, if you were taught that, then you may have some internal messages that are not good. And so when you start to do things in life like become successful in your work, or you have a great relationship, you have a wonderful guy or girl in your life, and then all of a sudden you start noticing that you start sabotaging that relationship or that job. And the reason is because instinctually inside our internal drive, that message is telling us, oh, but hey, I'm not successful, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy. So we literally almost have to self-fulfill those messages that we received as a child, even though they were very, tucked inside and they were subconscious. We still feel them. We just don't realize it. So that's why then on an outward basis, externally, we start to actually sabotage our success, is because we need to make our parents right, because society says, our church says, everything says Oh, honor thy mother and thy father. And like I said, I don't think it's that God meant that you have to line up with everything that they do, because our parents are flawed. We just have to respect them, that they brought us into this earth. I don't think personally any more than that, because sometimes, and if they do great things for us, of course, but sometimes parents are very flawed, and it doesn't mean that we necessarily have to stay in that relationship or they're thinking about us. So if you're sabotaging, I really want you to step up. Go read some books. Get help from a coach, somebody that knows how to get you through this, or a mentor or a therapist, somebody. Because you know what? You are worthy of success. You deserve it. You are deserving. You are worthy. You are enough. So quit sabotaging, but learn how to do it. And that's my message for today. So if you're sabotaging or you see someone else sabotaging their lives, now you have a bit of an understanding as to why they do this. But until you get into those inner drives, those I am nots, and figure that out and turn it around, you're going to keep sabotaging. So want you to work on that starting today. No time like the present. So anyway, thank you so very much, and hope y'all have a great afternoon. Bye.